It was supposed to be a night of celebration, laughter, friends, music, and new beginnings. A 24th birthday. The kind of night you remember forever for all the right reasons. But for one young woman, that night would end in horror. When she didn't show up for work the next day, her friends grew concerned. Hours later, police made a discovery so gruesome it would shock the nation: her lifeless body, bound and stuffed inside a suitcase, abandoned like discarded luggage. The story that followed was a chilling reminder of how love can turn violent. And how the person you trust most can become your greatest danger. This is the tragic story of the birthday night that turned deadly. Our story begins with Valerie Reyes, a bright, ambitious 24-year-old woman from New Rochelle, New York. Friends described her as artistic, kind, and full of life. She worked at a local bookstore and was saving up to move into her own apartment. She loved painting, hiking, and spending time with her close-knit family. But beneath her gentle personality, Valerie had been struggling with anxiety and fear, feelings that had only intensified after a recent breakup. In January 2019, Valerie ended her relationship with a man named Javier da Silva, a 24-year-old from Venezuela who was living in the US on an expired visa. They had met online and dated for several months. At first, things seemed normal, even romantic. Javier was charming, attentive, and affectionate. But over time, Valerie began to see red flags. He became controlling, jealous, and unpredictable. After she broke things off, she confided in friends that she feared he might hurt her. On the night of January 28, 2019, Valerie went out with friends to celebrate her 24th birthday. She laughed, took selfies, and seemed to be enjoying herself, but those close to her noticed she appeared uneasy, distracted. At one point, she told a friend she was scared something bad was going to happen to her. No one could have imagined just how prophetic those words would be. The next morning, Valerie didn't show up for work at Barnes Noble. Her family called her phone repeatedly, but there was no answer. Her car was missing, and her apartment was locked. Days passed with no word. Her parents were frantic. They posted flyers, contacted police, and pleaded with the public for help. Then, on February 5, 2019, the case took a horrifying turn. In the quiet suburb of Greenwich, Connecticut, a group of highway workers noticed something strange on the side of a rural road: a large, black suitcase. It looked out of place, sitting near a wooded area just off Glenville Road. When they opened it, they were met with a sight they would never forget. Inside was the body of a young woman, bound hand and foot with duct tape, her head wrapped in plastic. The body was partially frozen, but the victim's features were still recognizable. It was Valerie Reyes. The discovery sent shockwaves through both New York and Connecticut. A young woman, brutally murdered and left in a suitcase, on what was supposed to be her birthday week. The case quickly made national headlines. Investigators from multiple jurisdictions, Greenwich Police, New Rochelle detectives, and the FBI, joined forces to piece together the mystery. At first, they had few leads. There were no witnesses, no security footage near the dump site. But when detectives examined Valerie's bank account, they found something strange: withdrawals had been made after she was reported missing. Her ATM card had been used at various locations, and surveillance footage showed a man driving her car. The man's face was partially visible, and his features were familiar to police. It was Javier da Silva, Valerie's ex-boyfriend. Detectives quickly moved in. On February 12, 2019, FBI agents and local police surrounded an apartment complex in Queens, New York, and arrested Javier da Silva. When questioned, he initially denied everything. But faced with overwhelming evidence, he eventually broke down. What he confessed was as horrifying as it was tragic. According to da Silva, he had gone to Valerie's apartment in New Rochelle on the night of January 28 to talk things out. He claimed they ended up having sex, then got into an argument. Valerie, he said, fell and hit her head, but what he did next was unthinkable. Instead of calling 911, he panicked. He tied her up with tape, wrapped her in a sheet, and placed her body in a suitcase. He then drove across state lines into Connecticut and dumped the suitcase along the roadside. Forensic evidence told a different story. Autopsy results revealed Valerie had died from suffocation. There were no signs of a head injury. The bindings on her wrists and ankles suggested she was alive when she was restrained. The medical examiner ruled her death a homicide. Da Silva's accident story was a lie. Investigators found even more damning evidence. DNA from Da Silva was discovered on the duct tape and plastic covering Valerie's face. In her apartment, they found signs of a struggle, overturned items, broken glass, and traces of blood. His fingerprints were everywhere. He had even used Valerie's ATM card to withdraw cash after her death. When confronted with the evidence, Da Silva changed his story again. He admitted he had suffocated Valerie during an argument but insisted it was not premeditated. He described the moment in chilling detail, saying he just lost it. He later apologized to her family in court, saying he didn't deserve forgiveness. During the trial, prosecutors painted a disturbing picture of manipulation and control. They revealed text messages showing Da Silva's obsessive behavior, constant calls, jealous accusations, and threats. Valerie had told friends she was afraid of him, that she felt like she couldn't escape. Her fears had come true. The courtroom was heavy with emotion as Valerie's family listened to the details of her final moments. Her mother, Norma Sanchez, said through tears, "I will never forgive you. You left my daughter in a suitcase like garbage. You deserve to suffer every day for what you did." In 2021, Javier Da Silva was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison for kidnapping resulting in death. The judge called his actions evil and cruel beyond comprehension. The story of Valerie Reyes is one that continues to haunt those who hear it. It's a reminder of how quickly love can turn into control, how fear can become reality, and how domestic violence often hides behind the illusion of romance. Her case sparked renewed conversations about relationship abuse and how often victims' warnings are dismissed or ignored. In the years since her death, Valerie's loved ones have worked to keep her memory alive. They've spoken publicly about her life, not just how she died, but who she was, a kind, intelligent young woman with dreams, laughter, but art in her heart. Her mother often says that Valerie's story should be a warning for others, a call for women to trust their instincts and never ignore their fears. The case also revealed something chilling about modern relationships, how quickly intimacy can turn into danger when obsession and control take over. Javier Da Silva wasn't a stranger in the night, he was someone Valerie had once trusted, someone who had once held her hand. And that's what makes her story so heartbreaking. The betrayal came from within her own circle of love. Today, the quiet road in Greenwich where the suitcase was found looks ordinary again. Cars pass by, people walk their dogs, and life continues. But for those who know what happened there, it's impossible to forget. It stands as a silent reminder of the fragility of trust, the dangers of ignoring warning signs, and the devastating consequences of violence hidden behind closed doors. The birthday night that was supposed to be filled with joy ended in tragedy. But Valerie's story endures, not as a tale of fear, but as a plea for awareness, protection, but justice for every woman who feels unsafe in her own love story. Because behind every headline, behind every victim's photo, there's a life, a voice that once laughed, a heart that once dreamed. And those voices deserve to be remembered.